Hello and welcome back, and today I'm finishing off Insomniac's Resistance trilogy by finally reviewing Resistance 3. What, you thought I would have a funny skit or clip or joke at the beginning of this episode? Nah, let's just get into it. You play as Joseph Capelli, who after killing the character in the end of the previous game, got kicked out of his military group and decided to settle down, get married, have a child, and presumably get off all the roids that he'd been taking to make himself swole in the previous game. At this point in time, about 90% of the world's population has been converted into Chimera and are trying to seek down and kill the remaining 10%. Including Joseph and his family, who are hidden in an underground community. However, after a small incursion with the Chimera, Joe has to evacuate his family and the rest of the people from the community because the Chimera are bringing forth a giant terraforming device to the location. During the evacuation, Joe begrudgingly teams up with a scientist from the previous games, Dr. Malakov, who explains that the terraforming devices are connected to a giant portal being held open by a tower in the middle of New York. And as long as the portal is open, Earth will be slowly terraformed until it's uninhabitable for the humans because the Chimera like it cold, you see. The majority of this game from this point on involves Joe and Malakov crossing America trying to get to New York, helping out human survivors they meet out along the way, and taking down any Chimera that get in their way. Eventually they bump into a group of ex-prisoners turned bandits who kill Dr. Malakov and capture Joe and take him to their prison headquarters. Joe manages to fight his way out and escape during a conflict between the bandits and the Chimera, and manages to get his way all the way to the frozen streets of New York. Joe tries to get to the tower on foot, only to realise that it's too heavily guarded and has to be rescued by a bunch of the people that he met along his journey. With Dr. Malakov dead and the tower not accessible from the ground, Joe has to come up with a new plan on the fly, so he takes one of his allies' aircraft, uses it to board a Chimera terraforming platform, fights his way through the Chimera on board, sabotages the terraforming platform, and escapes just in the nick of time to watch it crash into the tower, causing the portal to close and the terraforming to stop. So Joe returns to his family. The temperature of the Earth is slowly returning to normal, the remnants of the Chimera are scattering, humanity is slowly recovering, and I managed to get through this part of the review without making a Joe Mama joke. Fuck! The game is still a first-person shooter like its predecessors, but unlike its predecessors, this game feels a lot better to play this time around, and the enemies feel a lot less annoying to deal with. Also, the game has dropped any semblance of having regenerating health, meaning you're now solely reliant on the health packs. All the returning weapons seem to work better than ever before. There are also plenty of new weapons such as a shotgun with a secondary explosive option, a rocket launcher that locks onto enemies, a pulse rifle that dispenses mini turrets, a sniper rifle with a charge shot, a cryo gun that freezes enemies and then produces a shockwave to shatter them, a gun that shoots lightning and produces electrified mines, and a mutation gun that causes enemies shot by it to turn into big pussy blobs that explode and cause the same infection to apply to any enemies nearby. You also have frag grenades, EMP grenades, spike grenades and molotovs, and your weapons level up the more you use them. And the more they level up, they get additional perks. The graphics are pretty much at the peak of what the PS3 was capable of at the time. Just the amount of detail that's been put into the aesthetics and the model work just shows how far this series has come since the first installment. And I have nothing really to say about the music. You know, this is becoming a recurring habit of yours. You constantly talk about the music but then say you have nothing to say about it, but when I come in and offer my chance to express how I feel about the music, you just shoo me away. Can you just go away? You see, you're doing it again. Can you at least give me a little bit of respect? I mean, I did help you save the world and all. You just stood there holding a MacGuffin. Literally anyone could have done that. Now will you piss off? I'm trying to finish my review. Fine, fine. Talk about pulling out all the stops of the final stretch. Well, the story is only serviceable, if coming a bit too close to Half-Life 2 at times. It more than makes up for it in the gameplay, which despite only having a few refinements, somehow brings it leaps and bounds ahead of its predecessors. Overall, this game is really good, and I'd say worth giving a go whether or not you did like the previous installments in the series. Well, that's all from me. See you guys next time. I just get no respect around here. I just want to contribute something. I would threaten not to show up next time, but knowing him, he'd probably prefer it that way. And don't even get me started at that ghastly man at the bottom of the garden. If only I could convince them, to show them that I could be a crucial part of this review thing he does. If only I can make him respect me. If only.